Hey, this is part two of scene 11 in Streetcar Named Desire. I realized that the phone cut me off when I got to about page 148, and so I'm just finishing what I started there. So what I was saying on that page was that there's some scene description here that sort of reflects Blanche's very fragile mental state. You can see this because she's turning weakly about, she's hesitating, she's letting them push her in a chair, so she seems very, very defeated. And again, probably fragile. So we also see more of Blanche's imagination at work at this point. She is discussing the way in which she believes she's going to die, which is over the top, very characteristic of Blanche. We also have where right at that time we have a doctor and a matron that come in, and it's at this moment that we realize that Blanche is not just headed out to the country to relax. She's actually probably being carted off to a mental institution, and that Stella was the one that is going to send her there. We also have, as this is going on, Blanche dealing with the Vesuviana that's playing in her mind, and this actually carries from page 149 all the way to about 151. And the only time that it really stops on page 151 is when it's being replaced by something that's additionally or just as traumatic as the night of her husband's suicide. Let me read that description to you and then kind of tell you what I think here. We have the Vesuviana that's filtered into a weird distortion, and it's accompanied by cries and noises of a jungle. I don't know if you remember, but in scene 10, some of that description that was occurring around the time of, Stanley's raping of Blanche, we have the same exact description there. We have lurid reflections that are appearing on the walls in scene 10, as well as what's going on right now on page 151 in scene 11. Okay, so she's replaying that night in her mind, and that's what is sort of overlapping the Vesuviana. We also have some descriptions about the doctor and the matron that are sort of ominous to me. If you look on page 148, there's this unmistakable aura of the state institution with its cynical detachment. We also have on page 151 where the matron's described as this peculiarly sinister figure. So wherever Blanche is headed off to, whatever mental institution it is, it doesn't seem like it's going to bring her any peace. I think that she won't be in any better condition. I also want to go on to page 152 to talk a little bit about Stanley and what he did to Blanche in the final moments before her departure. So actually Blanche is not ready to leave just yet because she believes she's forgotten something, and everyone's trying to look and figure out what exactly that is, and even Stanley's participating in that. And, he comments that, Blanche has left nothing here but talcum powder and this old empty perfume bottle. And then he says, unless it's the paper lantern that you want to take with you, do you want the lantern? Let me read this further and then talk about it. It says that he crossed to the dressing table and he seizes the paper lantern. He tears it off the light bulb and then he extends it toward her. She cries out as if the lantern was herself. So, if you look here, we have a simile that's used to describe Blanche. So like a lantern, she's somewhat fragile, and like a lantern shade that which covers a harsh light, she tries to cover up a harsh reality in her own world. So when you see that Stanley sort of tears off the lantern and gives it to her, it's this like final act of cruelty there, and he's just really trying to force her to deal with that harsh reality. Moving further down, we also have Stella starting to really, really struggle with letting Blanche go. She believes that she's done something bad to her sister by sending her off, and Eunice is trying to tell her she's doing the right thing. There's nothing that they could do about this. And again, she's holding Stella back. We also have Mitch that's headed toward the bedroom to comfort Blanche, is what I assume is happening, and Stanley sort of blocks him from doing so. And they get into this sort of scuffle, and Mitch is collapsing on the floor, on the table, sobbing. So anyway, we have a couple of characters that are sort of dealing with some guilt here. Moving on to the very final page of the play, we have Stella sobbing, very, very upset because her sister is going, and Stanley, as a way to comfort her, does something sort of unusual. Let me read this to you. It says, he kneels beside her and his fingers find the opening of her blouse. So when he's comforting her, he's doing it in this sort of sexual way, this physical way. And this just shows us that right up until the very end of this play, Stanley remains this unchanged character, that he will always be this way. And he's actually really just resuming what he said they were like before Blanche ever came around. So so that's one of the things. And then the final thing that I have to say about this play and just about the end is that I find it extremely interesting that the poker game would coincide with Blanche's departure. So remember, we talked about poker and how it could be considered symbolic. Poker is a game where you deal with illusion versus reality, where you are bluffing people, where you pretend to be something or pretend to be this certain way and you're really something else. And the only way to do well in poker is to bluff well. So for Stanley, you know, he plays a good poker game, has a great poker face. He comes out on top and he sort of wins this battle with Blanche. And you know, again, he's really good at bluffing, and lying, I guess you could say, than Blanche is, and that's why he is never punished. He never faces a consequence, and here Blanche is being carted off. So anyway, that actually concludes the whole play. Hopefully you enjoyed reading this one as much as I do every year that I teach this. You know, I would have loved to have gone on and taught you guys fences, but just know that, you know, just unfortunate circumstances prevented us from doing that. So anyway, you know, email me with questions, and hope this overall helps you guys. So see you later.